is it, everybody.
This is the last episode of Deck the Hallmark.
We said that with a couple weeks ago.
But it's true now because we got Daniel Lissing on the program. That's it.
Listen, here's the thing, everybody out there, all the hardies out there that listen every Christmas time when we do the Christmas episode of When Call a Heart and don't do anything else, and you get all mad at us because we don't watch the show except at Christmas time and we don't understand what's going on in the show and we crap on it. Well, today's the day. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Daniel Lissing is announcing that the Ghost of Jack will be back in season 7, right?
It's going to be a big one. It's going to be a big one.
Well, the fact that season 7 just finished airing.
Season 8. We'll cut it in post. Season 8. So you're saying you were there as Ghost Jack and they cut all your scenes, Daniel?
That's exactly right.
Ghost Jack.
Guys, let me just say I'm very, very happy to be here with you. It's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming. I watched an interview of yours not too long ago, and it was you and this other guy, and you were doing crafts together, and you were answering questions. What a great idea. We didn't prepare any crafts today, but hopefully we can still have a good time.
Did you try to say prepare and not get it out there?
And you just said prayer.
Hopefully we don't have to pray over any crafts today. We'll see what happens. Daniel, welcome. It is such an honor for you to have joined us today. We're going to dive into so many things, including the hearts of when they're coming and whatnot.
When they're calling. That's right.
But first, we got to know a little bit more about you. You have a bit of an accent. I don't know if anyone's told you that, but it's really delightful. One, where are you from? Two, tell us a little bit about your childhood and when you kind of began to become interested in this acting thing that you are doing now.
Great, yeah. So I was born in Sydney, Australia, 1981.
Nice.
And I grew up around the eastern suburbs of Sydney, which is like, on the coast there. So lots of kind of like outdoor lifestyle beaches. I had a very happy upbringing, lots of sports. I have a younger sister, Tamara. And, a pretty kind of like average, middle-class upbringing in Australia, which is like, a good 80 to 90% of the population there. Nothing spectacular, but I'm very grateful for the childhood I had. And I guess, I got into acting a little, I dabbled here and there, but I got into acting a little later than some of my, friends that are actors. I started really getting sort of serious about it and realized that I wanted to do this for a career and put my head down with it when I was about 27 years old or 28 years old. I had I did a short film, and I worked with an American director that was in Sydney for this like short film festival, and it was such a exciting collaborative experience that I was like, I got the bug. When they say you get the bug, that's when I got the bug, and I was like, I have to do this.
What were you planning on doing before that? Like, what were your goals? I mean, you didn't get into it until 27, 28. What were you thinking?
Well, I was already, I'd worked a little bit as an actor, but I was already writing and producing music and doing gigs around, touring, all that kind of stuff. So I'd been into music from a pretty, early age. And then when I had finished school, I just got straight into that world. And then by the time I'd done this short film, I was really deep into running my own private event company with, getting putting together bands or acts or whatever to do corporate events and things like that. So I was doing that. I was playing gigs. I was writing music. I was producing music, and then I did this short film. Just for it's a sideline kind of thing. And as soon as I did that, I was like, I just dropped everything else and concentrated on. Actually, I knew I wanted to work in the States, so I just for like 2 years straight in my house. I was living with another actor at the time, and we would just talk in American accent around our house, like all day. And that was kind of like how I I started, and then within like 2.5 years, I'd say, I booked my first pilot and moved to Hawaii.
What was what's the hardest part, or what was the hardest part of getting the American accents down as an Australian?
Well, like when you're acquiring any kind of dialect, you really have to, to get the technicalities is one thing. To sound natural is it's still a challenge for me, because my natural accent is an Australian, well, a pretty neutral Australian accent. I don't have a very strong Australian accent, but it's about getting the fluidity of it. And so when I was very technical about it, and I could roll my R's and say my lines perfectly, and really everything was technical. But I was working on a show called Last Resort in Hawaii, and Scott Speedman was the lead of that show. And he's like, we were mates, and, he's like, just best bit of advice with the accent is just mumble it, man. Just mumble your way through. So once you have the technicalities, just throw it all away. So it just kind of all flows in one nice kind of like,
wow.
And that actually helped, and it makes it just sound there's a lot more fluidity to it. So it's just acquiring the technicality and then making it look effortless is the challenge.
Last Resort is with Andre Brower and Scott Speedman, correct? And it was the guy that did The Shield. I remember watching the pilot and loving it. Is that right? You had to feel like on that show, you had to feel like this thing's going to be on the air for years.
Well, it should have been, in my opinion. That was, the most exciting show that I could have dreamed of being a part of. I got to work with Navy SEALs. I played in Navy SEAL. I was working with Sean Ryan, who is just a prolific showrunner, writer, producer, who, I had a chat with him on FaceTime before I tested for that, because I was doing it from Australia. And he's like, so man, you want to live in Hawaii for a while? And I was like, yes. There was an F before the yes.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Come on, man.
So it was great, and being on that show was, it was a great big network show, an amazing cast. And, the thing is with that show is right at that time where the, content started to change in the way people viewed their television shows. Sure. Because DVR came in then, and the days of Lost being on the network and getting 4.0 in the demographic and 18 million viewers on these network shows on a Thursday night were gone, because people wanted to DVR it and watch their content in one hit. And as that rolled out and that technology rolled out, the networks hadn't caught up to it yet. And so they saw our numbers that by today's standards was phenomenal.
Yep.
But it was right at that time where I feel like the networks were still going, is this what it is now? Or is this just like a kind of not hitting the mark that we're expecting? And so we did 13 episodes and then we got canceled, which was heartbreaking.
I loved the show. Like, I was a fan of the show when it came on. When it aired, I watched it every week. And so that was disappointing for me, but it just had a feel of a show that could go for years and years. And I know as an actor, and we get to talk to an actor every week, and they always tell you that, hey, you do 100 auditions, you may get 2 or 3 callbacks. And when you find a show and you get cast in that show, you have this feeling, like, oh, this probably won't make the air, or this will just be a pilot. And then sometimes you get that feeling of, this is the one. This is the show that I'm going to get the residuals on forever, that people are going to watch for years and years. It's special. The creators are special. The actors are special. And I, just watching Last Resort, I had that feeling. And so I can't imagine being a young actor getting to leave Australia, going to Hawaii, and then thinking, I'm not trying to put thoughts in your head, but it had to feel.
Yes, you are, Dan. Come on, man.
That's what I do.
He just got through this, and now you're just bringing it back again.
Yeah.
He's finally come over the hump.
Yeah, it took him 10 years and dying as Jack to get over Last Resort. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So for me, I was just grateful to be there. As a guy growing up in the suburbs of Sydney, just to be working in the States, no matter what the job is like, man, when I talk to my mates back home, it's like, can you believe what you're doing? And I'm like, I know. It is. I feel very lucky to have. Look, anytime you work, it's just such a fickle industry. You never know if it's going to pop. You never know when your next role's going to be, unless you're creating yourself. And
Ghost Jack, if you will.
Yeah, Ghost Jack, exactly. When I was doing Last Resort, that was it didn't, the gravity of it and the importance of that actually working on a show like that does a pilot, that gets picked up to series, that does 13 episodes, that gets the numbers that it did. And when it got canceled, there was sort of rumors about that happening maybe 3 or 4 weeks before it happened. So because I was, so new to it all, it didn't really I'm like, no worries, I'll just jump on something else, it'll be fine. But wow, what an amazing experience. So it didn't really affect me in the way that maybe it would now.
Yeah. How often do you go back to Australia, see all your mates back in Australia?
Yeah, we try and get back once a year.
Nice.
Yeah, for a decent amount of time. We sort of spent 2 months there over the holidays this time, after doing a nice trip to Japan and Bali. I travel. I've always traveled, I think that's one of my great joys in life. And now my partner Nadia and I, we travel whenever we can. Obviously not at the moment.
Yeah. Do you know you did the music stuff, which is awesome. Do you know a band from Australia called Shepherd by any chance?
I've heard of Shepherd, but I couldn't sing any of the songs.
That's okay. It's a very long story, and it's not really worth telling. I would tell it if you knew them, but it's not worth. Yeah. So there's TV shows in Australia. Like Australia has a market, and they make some stuff.
Sure.
Is there still the desire for most actors in Australia, like America is the place to go to do TV? Like in Australia, the market in Australia is secondary to American media?
It depends on what your goals are, but I mean, if there are actors in Australia that carve out a really nice career. The content in Australia, it's a small market, but it's a really solid market. Australia has some fantastic shows. The difference is in the States is just there's so much more. The budget's so much higher. You've got, I would say, a larger a majority of the best people in the world working in the biggest industry in the world. And so the States, in regards to, the size of the kind of shows and films that are made here, America is definitely the place to be. For an actor like me, I never had too much success in Australia as an actor, but people, love living in Australia. I've talked often about going back and doing some work there because, to work, it's a great lifestyle, in Australia. We're a very lucky country. And, to go back and work, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it, but that's not where my sights are set.
So I got your IMDb page out, Daniel.
Yeah.
And you've got it's a who's who of every show that's ever been made. But the first thing you were ever on, according to IMDb, is a show called Pizza. It's just called Pizza, Daniel. That's 2 episodes. I need to know, what is this show? What is this show called Pizza?
It's so funny. So they're speaking about quality Australian content, maybe this is not one of them.
They were making shows just called Pizza and Hamburger.
It's just people eating.
You know what it was, if I remember correctly, because I don't even know how that happened. It was before I had any interest in acting or anything like that, but someone was working on the show and they asked me if I wanted to play a cop. So I'd pull over this guy and say, license and registration please, and I'm like, great, that's it, that's the role. And I did it for a lark. I shot for 4 hours, and that was 2 episodes. and it was just one of those things that kind of fell in my lap. I was bored out of my mind. I was like, this is the first time I've really been on a set working, and I I was like, man, there's a lot of sitting around. There's a lot of sitting around in acting. I'm not sure I want to be an actor. Although when I was about 15 or 16 years old, we have a show in Australia that's like the staple. It's like the farm school before a lot of actors come out, called to the States, called Home and Away.
Yeah.
And as a high school student in my summers, for 2 summers, a couple of my friends were being extras on the show, and they're like, "You should come, man. We make like $30 an hour,
wow,
or $25 an hour to just walk in the background." And I'm like, "Oh, 15-year-old kid." I was like, "How many hours are you?" Like 8 hours, man. I'm like, "Whoa." Yeah. So there was a couple of summers that I ended up like, as a 15 or 16-year-old kid, like, being an extra. That was I barely remember now, but I was there, and I ended up meeting, befriending like actors that were on the show at the time, like Isla Fisher.
Oh, wow.
Who was on the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I don't want to harp on this point. What is pizza about? What, Daniel? Tell me what it's about, please.
I'm not sure he knows,
I gotta say this. I rarely watch the shows I'm in, and I definitely didn't watch that one.
Listen, man, if you don't know what pizza is, you can't know. It's one of those things either get you don't.
Whatever you manifest, whatever you can imagine, mate. It's probably about 10 times better than what it actually was.
Pizza's more of a state of mind.
It's a state of mind.
Let me ask you this. You seem like somebody who's like a true artist. You're a musician. You write stuff. You produce. You're in movies. I know that you're kind of working behind the camera some. What were some of the movies early on growing up that inspired you, not in acting, but as an artist that can really appreciate film and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a great question, man, because that's where it all starts, where and I guess that's why so many, Australian actors or foreign actors want to come and work in the States, because of the content that we grow up with. We grow up with so many great American television shows and films.
And pizza.
And so, and pizza. And so when I was growing up, it was, as a kid, you're not really operating from an artistic point of view, but you're operating from emotion and feeling. And it is the kind of like feelings that you got watching some of your favorite characters or some of your favorite shows that emoted something in you, that made you want to be part of something bigger than yourself. And so when I remember really, it's so funny, and it just happens to be one of those films that wasn't popular at the time, but, when we were kids, I was like maybe 13 or 14 years old. We would have like movie nights, at home. We'd go to the Blockbuster video store or whatever. We had Video Easy in Australia, and we had a movie night one night. I was 14 years old, and I remember watching Shawshank Redemption with a family. And that was the first time at the end of the movie it was a beautiful movie. There wasn't anything overly emotional about it, but I was emotional after the movie. I was like, I'm a crier, guys. I'm just going to admit it now.
All right. Daniel's a crier.
Yeah, man. But I watched that movie, and I had tears in my eyes, and I felt like so inspired. And I was like, I just really was affected by it, and there had been some films that I had watched around that period around those formative years that really kind of like affected me in that, like, I just felt inspired by them. I felt emotional. I felt connected to the characters, and also felt like something, I need to be part of this in some way. And that feeling, that being part of it in some way, was that artistic need to create something.
Is there ever been a show that you were auditioning for, or a movie that you were auditioning for, that we would have heard of, that you were really close, or you thought you were going to be the guy that got the part and it just didn't go your way? These are usually the best stories.
Okay. Well, in Australia, the auditioning process is very different. You'd get a script in, and you'll have like a week to sit with it, and you'll go into the casting agent, and you usually know them from Christmas drinks at the pub or something like that. And they're like, nah, just do it again, mate. They're looking for this, and just take your time. You do like 5 takes, and they'll talk. Here in the States, it's like, here's the script. You're going in 3 hours. Like, Great. Thanks very much. We'll let you know. Right. So it's very fast turnover. You get the scripts in, and you kind of like go in the room and you do it, and you build up relationships with casting agents over good work over a long period of time, which is like, that's the process that I'm have been going through over the last 8 years of being in the States. But my first audition in America. I'd auditioned for America, and I'd booked Last Resort from my living room in Bondi Beach in Sydney, right? And I'd self-taped it and I'd sent it over. And that's how that whole process went for me with auditioning. But my very, very first audition in the United States was a shock. I walked in the room. I thought I had this thing nailed. I was flying over from, I believe I was flying in from Hawaii. And I'd had this script. I thought it was the most awesome script. It was brilliant. And there was this sort of big monologue that I had to learn. I had it nailed, and I walked in the room and I completely right? I went in the room and this casting agent is going like, great, okay. And I'm like, let me do that again. I'm a bit nervous. Like, no, I've seen enough. And I was like, okay. So it's not like a get close story. It's like a completely bodged the very, very first audition I ever had. I never saw that casting agent again. And that was for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like Pratt's
Chris Pratt's role?
That's exactly right.
Oh my gosh.
So I went in there and I was like, I got this character. I am Quinn, man. I'm Quill. I'm Peter Quill. I'm all over this, and I bodged it with this I didn't realize how big this casting director was, and I've never seen her again.
What did you do that was so bad? Did you like flub lines, forget lines, or was it just a bad?
Look, how do you explain really messing up an audition? There is a. Have you ever seen someone that's just? Have you ever been to a comedy club and you just watch a comedian dying on stage and you're like, oh, that's so hard to watch. Yep. I'm pretty sure that's the feeling.
Oh my gosh! At least it wasn't for a big role, Daniel. Gee, oh my goodness, that is wild.
That's great.
I've always thought that Chris Pratt just didn't quite have it in that role.
That's right.
There's just somebody else that would be better for it.
Yeah,
it's this guy.
I think that he's so awesome, man. I'm a fan of his. He's just got that humor. About the way he delivers lines, So most actors would sort of deliver it in a pretty, straight way, or this is where he's angry or whatever, and he just always adds that light touch, which is so much fun to watch,
So how hard was it for you to go and watch Guardians of the Galaxy after it came out?
It was easy, mate. Like this is one of the things with this industry. You have to have thick skin. If you let the failures, determine your worth, or if you let the failures beat you down, then you're not going to last in this industry at all. Rejection's my middle name.
Well,
gentlemen.
I think partially it might be the field you're in, but it's also because you're Australian and you just roll with it. I'm convinced that it's a state of mind that people from Australia have, where they're like, no worries, we're just going to get up, we're going to do it again, no big deal, right?
Well, that's on the surface for sure, but I think that's the sort of stereotypical attitude, of course, that people have, and that's what they put forward. But look, it hurts. It just does. Yeah. And you got to have. It is a head game. You got to have. Strength of character and a pretty strong belief in yourself to get rejected that many times and pick yourself up and then go into the next room with confidence. I've got this. And it doesn't always go that way. There's been so many times that I've walked into rooms and after like getting close or not doing what I wanted to do in the room, and then gone into the next audition and let it affect me. Yeah.
You've had multiple episode stints on a number of American TV shows. I'm talking 6, 5, 3 episodes. What's the best set you've ever been a part of that's not Hallmark, not Last Resort? So something where you've been there for 5 or 6 episodes or even one episode. You showed up and you just thought it was the best set.
Yeah, that's a great question. Everyone's so professional. I've shot in Canada a fair bit and I shoot in the States a bit. And the sets are really kind of professional and slick. And that's, what you're looking for as an actor. just everyone doing their job so that you can do your job. Because we're all just pieces of the puzzle, right? We're just trying to create something. But as far as feeling goes, I'm really enjoying. The last one I did, The Rookie.
Yeah.
It's shot at Warner Brothers Studios, which is so cool. You know, it's the first kind of like set that I've been on like a studio lot, and that is just a buzz in itself. You know, you're kind of driving to set, you got your little driving your golf buggy, and you're driving past, and you know, I drove past Denzel Washington's set, you know, a few months ago, and I was like, man, this is so cool. Oh, that's where they shot that. That's where they shot that. Excuse me. So in that aspect of things, it's really fun. But one of the great things about that show is that the lead cast, led by Nathan Fillion, they're all just positive, good people. It reminds me of being on set of When Calls the Heart, because really, if you're number one and your producers are of a inclusive nature, and we're all part of the team kind of thing, then that really trickles down to everyone. And that's the feeling that I get on that set, is that, you know, there's a really nice energy, and you are welcomed as a guest. You know, I'm just a guesty mate, you know. So I really had a tremendous experience feeling welcomed on that set.
Yeah. I remember when we went on Home and Family, Hallmark had us on Home and Family. We went on the Universal lot.
Yeah.
And just seeing like The Good Place filming right there.
Place
right up the hill is where they filmed
Superstore.
the Hollywood movie. What's his name? Quentin Tarantino.
Oh yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right up that hill. And so and then there's Home and Family Home right there.
Yeah.
And so just to be able to kind of pull up and hear it, like, here's all these crazy things that are happening.
So
It's
cool.
just
It was
so
neat.
It's wild to be there.
It is cool. It's exciting, right?
Yeah,
it is. There's
exciting.
an energy. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You love to act. You love to create. You also love to travel. And you know, creating and acting is what kind of allows you to be able to travel and do the things that you love. Hypothetical situation here. You get picked up for a series, lots of episodes, and then you get a blockbuster, and you can't travel for like a long time because of all the work that you're getting. Are you taking all the work, or is there a part of you that's like, I kind of miss traveling? Like how do you balance that love of travel and kind of using it to kind of get a right peace of mind while also doing the work that you love?
Well, if I'm lucky enough to be in that position where it's, you know, sacrificing my travel time to work on the thing I'm most passionate about. Look, you know, there's always time. You know, there just is always time. You have, like, you know, a couple of weeks off and breaks. You've got breaks between you know, projects and things like that. You know, if I was lucky enough to go back to back and continue down that road, then, you know, I think it's really, really important to just have that sort of reset time.
Yeah.
To really, you know, it works great. I love what I do, but it's not all that I do, and it's not all who I am. So you got to find your own balance so that you can actually give what you want to give in you know, whatever you're pursuing at the time. Because if you just go on one thing or another, you'll burn out. So I think that I will always find the time to, you know.
So what's the main way that you kind of reset? I know you mentioned travel, but are there any other ways you just, if you can't travel, that you just use at home to kind of reset, to kind of get into that right headspace?
Just get hammered with my girl.
I love it.
As honest an answer.
No, we head down the pub. You know, like, you know, we go on road trips and things like that. There's a million things you can do to sort of reset. You know, I've tried yoga. I just can't stick to it. I meditate sporadically, you know, to just be like, you know, all these, you know, actors, like, let's be centered, you know. There's so many ways you can do that with yourself, you know. I do meditate, I do exercise, but also, like, you know, you got to have a spectrum of activities you can do, you know, because I'm not the kind of person that's just all about, like, you know, this is my routine, this is how I reset, you know, kind of pretty open to.
So you and Paul Green would have had some great conversations on the When Calls the Heart set then.
I love Paul. You know, honestly, and we got on so well. I really understand the guy. He I mean, look, what Paul presents.
Oh no, he's a riot on our set. No, we had him on our show. He's a riot, but he's all about like
the routine,
taking a cold shower, meditating for X number of minutes, doing like that's all. Yeah. That is his thing. He loves it, man.
That's right. Yeah. He's really kind of, I guess, got his lifestyle worked out for himself, which is great. Which is great because it works for him. Anytime I see that guy,
I'm more of a Daniel Lissing type routine guy.
Oh yeah,
go to the pub.
Yeah.
If you ever need to,
look, whatever works for you.
That's right.
If you ever need to get in the right headspace, you just got to get out of your head.
That's right.
By getting hammered with the girl. That's
right.
what I've always said.
That is exactly right. You get in the right headspace. Exactly. We spend so much time, and I'm an overthinker. I stress over. Work stuff mainly, but the most important thing is just get out of your own way. It's not that important at the end of the day. All the stuff that we worry about, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some serious things happening right now in our country and around our planet, and we get so caught up of our own little stuff that just to get a little perspective is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us, Daniel, how you got into the Hallmark world. Like, how did you just your agent find out about this, a role, or how'd you get introduced to Hallmark? How'd you find out about them?
I really didn't know anything about Hallmark from coming from Australia, and even through Last Resort, it just wasn't on my radar at all. And I did in 2013. I did pilot season. I tested for a couple of shows that didn't end up going. They didn't even shoot the pilot, unfortunately. So I got close to a couple of things then, but I was available after that first pilot season, and it was about May 2013 where I got a phone call from my agents and managers and saying they'd like to test you. I believe that it was actually this role of Jack Thornton, but was between me and Andrew Walker.
Wow.
And he was the other actor going in for the part of Jack Thornton, and then there was Aaron and another actress, and I basically just got these sides, got the script. I didn't read the script. I read just the scenes, right? And I went in the next day. And I performed in front of a boardroom of people, the creators of the show, the network executives. There was 10 people from Hallmark and from the production company just sitting there. And on a Skype call on this big screen in the boardroom was the CEO of Hallmark from New York, right? So we're there, and I go into the room and I read the scene with each of the actresses, and then I go out, and then we kind of swap around, and they're trying to find their right couple. And it was really clear to me, being in that room, that Aaron and I had something really special, in regards just our audition, just our chemistry, and just we kind of clicked in regards to scene partners. It was just easy to work with her from the very, very beginning. So she's a very giving actor, Very giving actor. So am I, very giving. But mate, we ended up reading that, and then I ended up having a sit-down conversation with the team there, and then I guess it was, I can't even remember, maybe a few days later, they offered the part, and then I discussed it with my team, and, it was kind of a 50-50 split whether I should take it or not. And
about your team was split on you taking the role. Like some people on your team were like, no, don't take it. And some were like, yes, take it.
It was actually three guys. They're actually like you guys. One was like, don't do it.
Dude, I can tell you right now.
Definitely do it. And the other was like, I don't know, man. It's kind of up to you. So it was the three-way split. And, at that point in time, Hallmark had not been known for their television series work, so it was a risk. And it was one of those things like it could be good, it could be bad, it could not last, it could last for 10 years, no one knew what was going to happen. Some of my team members felt like it wasn't the direction that they wanted to see me going, but I thought that it was a sweet family show. I thought that it would be a really good opportunity for me to be, number high up on the call sheet, as the male lead of my own show, working with a great actress that I knew would deliver. And I thought that, all right, whatever happens, the experience of this is going to be priceless, of just actually being able to, hold a show. And also I didn't know if I could, because on Last Resort, I was, number 4 on the call sheet, but I wasn't like by any means, the make or break of the show, or the lead character of the show. I was a supporting character, the best character in my opinion. but with this one, I felt like this is the next challenge. Can I hold it? Can I be the male lead of a television show, and can it be successful? And can I deliver when it matters?
So
I love it.
You did, 5 seasons of that. We'll get to your exit in a little bit, but you got to do some Hallmark movies as well. Which, Hallmark movies we hear, 15 days to shoot. It's kind of a mad dash, or in all these locations are doing so many, dozen pages a day. You're going crazy. Which is the better environment, or your favorite environment? A show on Hallmark, like When Calls the Heart, or a movie on Hallmark, or are they very much the same?
They're not the same because, as a male lead in a film, you like you said, you've got 15 days. You're in almost every scene. It is there's time crunch kind of going on, and it is 15 days. 3 weeks they shoot for pretty traditionally, of just intense focus and work, and then it's just about keeping up that kind of like stamina. So by the end of that period, you're pretty ready to have a break. Although in season 1 of When Calls the Heart, it was like that as well, because in season 1 of When Calls the Heart, it was basically Laurie, Aaron, and myself that were like holding the show, and we were basically in every scene, or thereabouts. And so when you're doing that kind of workload for 5 months, I was really, really sick at the end of season 1, because we were like outdoors a lot, shooting in like, minus temperatures, and it was like every scene. And by the end of the first season, I was like gone, And so when they brought in other characters at the end of season 1, like they brought in Jack, and they brought in Jack Wagner and Pascal Hutton. And then in season 2, they brought in even more characters and stuff. So it just alleviates the workload a little bit. And also I didn't pace myself correctly during the first season of When Calls the Heart, because it was the first show. I was like, you really have to learn how to like utilize your energy as a like, when you're working on a show, because there is such long days and then such long weeks and such long months, that to sort of sustain that creative energy and that sort of spark, you really have to work out a way to sort of conserve a little bit.
Were there some thoughts of at the end of season 1 where you were thinking, man, what have I gotten into? Have I made a mistake? Like, I
should have listened to my team.
I should have listened to my team.
No, not at all. It was the best kind of tired I've ever felt. Felt like I was accomplishing something,
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I know that this happens, but how much do you still out in public get fans of When Calls the Heart that come up to you and go, oh my gosh, I love you, and then want to talk to you about Jack and being dead and not being on the show anymore? How often does that happen?
So not very often in Los Angeles, but whenever I've been outside of Los Angeles, like whenever we've been to Disneyland a couple of times, and it's like every 100 yards or so someone will come up, But when I was I went to New Orleans Carl, been in there a couple of times. It's not the best place to get recognized. Also in Nashville. I went to Nashville, and that's not the best place to get recognized as well. But I went with my cousin. I was with my cousin Chris, who's like my best mate, and we just spent a week in Mexico for a mate's birthday, and we went to Nashville together. And we were just, listening to music and drinking and like having a great time, eating like barbecue. It was bloody brilliant. And then I'm walking down the street like, man, I love you, brother. It would not stop. It would not stop because you have that kind of like region of the country, like, kind of Hallmark watches, right? Really around Nashville. And when you've got, drunk parties.
Yeah.
Walking down the street, it was really kind of, it just kind of hit me like, I was like, oh, wow, this is a popular show, man. You don't really get it in LA, you just kind of get on with your life. But
we're out of South Carolina. That's where we are. And so we're right, we're 3 hours from Knoxville, 4 or 5 hours from Nashville. And like,
right, cool.
If you were walking around here, people would come up to you about When Calls the Heart. Yeah, that would most definitely happen here in Greenville. No doubt about it.
But still come visit.
Yeah, come visit us for sure. Yeah.
Would love to.
Beer is on
honestly.
me. I love it.
Happy days.
Yeah. I do want to get to Jack's.
Yeah,
Dan, you really know how to get an Australian.
That's right. Yeah.
Beer's on me.
None of this Foster's crap.
We know all the
Daniel.
good pubs. Yeah, the exit. Okay, so this is kind of the timeline that we know of.
Yeah.
Is you do the show. You're at end of season 5. This happens. You're exiting the show. You get killed off. And that's a big deal in Hallmark.
Nobody kills anybody.
Nobody kills anybody in Hallmark, and so it was a big deal. And it was a big enough deal to where, like afterwards, I remember so vividly. It was everywhere. And then you did this Facebook Live thing with Aaron and Lori, and it was just like this big thing. Like, we're supporting you. It was very emotional. And so what led to the decision? It was your decision to leave. But two, like, whose decision was it to kill you off? Because we do know that they can
write you off.
They can write you off. Like, if you commit a crime, they can write you off so that you can come back later on if you want to. So, like, how did that come to be in your situation to where, hey, I'm leaving, and also you're going to get killed?
Well, they were thinking the whole killing Jack off was. How would Jack ever leave Aaron? Because Elizabeth.
Right.
So if for example, they played that story out and he just left her or whatever, it just wouldn't fly. The only thing that would ever break those two apart would have to be death, right? And he was in a dangerous line of work, so it kind of made sense for the exit to be, they strategized it to end that way.
Were you privy to those conversations? Did you get to share your input on how you thought your exit should be handled?
Yeah, I did speak to them, and I said that I just agreed with what they had put forward. Really.
True.
I think that's the only way you could have left the show. Really.
Full disclosure, Daniel, I'd never heard of When Calls the Heart. We started this podcast, and Brandon informs me that as part of the movies we have to watch the When Calls the Heart Greatest Christmas Blessing or whatever. It's the first thing
because you guys haven't actually watched the series.
No,
not at all.
No,
but
here's the thing.
They do the movie.
It was our first year, and it's considered a movie. It's on the list of movies for the holiday season. It's Christmas Day, When Calls the Heart, hour and a half movie.
Yeah.
And so we got to watch it.
And so this was the first thing they did without Jack around.
This was
and I was not privy to any of that information. Brandon just said, hey, people love this show, and they killed off a character, which is very unusual in the Hallmark world. His name was Jack. And so on our podcast, I just started the podcast by saying, I, for one, am glad Jack's dead.
Mate, you would have been in big trouble from the Hardys.
Yeah. I was.
He
the
was.
Hardys have gone above and beyond. They've written letters. They don't like me, and that's totally fine. But I was doing it from a place of comedy. I didn't actually, I didn't care one way or the other. I didn't know who you were.
The fans of this show are really, really avid fans. You know, I mean, they're so passionate, and it's 99% beautiful positivity, right? It's all like it's all good, but then you've got like anyone, when you take something too seriously, you can get emotional about it.
Yes.
And so if you're that attached to television characters, which I understand because I've watched shows and I've just been so into the story and so into the characters, but the negativity is, you know, forget that stuff.
Let me ask you this. What went into the decision with your creative team to say, hey, I'm done. My contract's up. I would assume your contract was up anyway. I'm done with When Calls the Heart. What was that decision like?
It was a really tough one, you know. It was like, I'd thought about it a lot. I thought about it over like a couple of years, you know. So it was a long time coming, and I'd sort of, you know, spoken to my team, and, you know, the same thing before. It was like one of the guys like, stay on. We love the commission, you know.
Of course.
You know, and one of the guys is like, no. You got to move on, man. We got to keep moving.
Was that guy the same guy that said don't do it in the first place, or did they flip?
Yeah.
Same guy. Wow.
Yeah, and then my one of the guys is like, you know, whatever you want, man. You got to follow your heart.
He's got a real panda around there.
It's basically like we're your team.
We're your team. That's right. You should.
I would say keep doing it.
That's right.
Panda would be like, just do whatever. And Dan would be like, I can't believe you did it in the first place.
That's right. Yeah. You should just fire all your team and just call us for free when you need it. We won't even take any money. That's what we're here for.
What would your advice have been?
Well, it's funny because I think in getting to talk to these actors, how big of a deal it is to have a TV show that brings you in residuals and how big that is for paying the bills and stuff. I think there's a natural, predilection to just stay on a show as long as they'll have you. I would have legitimately told you, if your heart's not in it, you need to leave. Money, there are things more important than money. You did what you found out that you could lead a show as the male lead on TV. You don't want to be there. Don't be there. Do the thing that you're passionate about. That would have been my legitimate advice to you.
And here's the thing, as an artist, like, you know, I dabble in music. Podcasting is a form of an art form. And so if you're doing something that's art and you're not being fulfilled by that art, it's not only bad for you as an artist,
but it's
affecting the art.
Yeah.
And so like you got to get out.
I would have said you need to make as much money as you possibly can. Sell your soul, do whatever you need to do.
Well, you know, they Hallmark, you know, look, they look after their actors so well. Honestly, I loved working with Hallmark. They always looked after me in the business aspect of things and also the personal aspect of things. You know, they were kind of like, when you're in, you're in, and they'll do anything to accommodate you creatively, whatever you want to do, and also really open to like helping your career grow. So that was the best thing, because the way it happened was I took out the producer of the show and the executives from Hallmark, right? And I just sat down at lunch and I explained where I was coming from, and they're like, "We support you, mate." You know,
well, awesome.
Which was who does that? Yeah. Hallmark does that. It was really like a pretty remarkable,
So
way to go about it.
I'm definitely putting quotes together here, and this is not meant to be a gotcha question, but you said, in the intro, "Hi, I'm Daniel, and I used to be in Hallmark movies." And then you said, "When you're in, you're in," is what you said, but you never said what happens when you're out. And so my question is that it's pretty clear that Hallmark acting is past tense for you.
Well, not from my point of view. I mean, I'd happily work with Hallmark again.
Okay. So, but do you think it's on their side? Do you think they're kind of like, "Hey, you left us in the middle of the show, and so we enjoyed working with you, but we don't want to put you on anything else"? Do you think that's like what they're thinking?
Well, I wouldn't speculate what other people are thinking. I just know what I'm thinking.
Okay.
The good news is
that's the answer. That's all I needed.
The good news is they definitely have somebody driving the ship over there.
That's right. Yeah. They definitely have a CEO in charge. I think the exciting part about this is that now the Hardys get to hear in real time me telling Daniel Lissing that it was good that he quit.
I want to
so perfect. I'm glad we got to do this.
I want to ask you this because I think it's important. This is art to you, and so are you the type of person where 5 seasons of any show would have been burned out of, or was it just a type of content like you wanted to do something maybe edgier or maybe just different content than When Calls the Heart, or is it just a time thing for you where you're the type of person that wants to do something and then I want to move on and do something else?
No. I think that, I'm pretty, despite this, one example of me leaving a show, I'm pretty loyal to the productions I'm working for 100%. But, for me, well, just to tell you guys, over the last 2 years since I've left, I've been writing a series, I've been creative. I've got when I got the bug doing that short film in Australia, and I said that there's this American director that came over. Working with him, I collaborated with him on that short film, and I'd finished it, and I was like terrible in it because it was like one of the first things that I'd really done. But I remained friends with that guy, and his name's Mike Good, and we created a short film called The Answers. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. In fact, Dan, you'll like it.
I love it. It.
The Answers, check it out. It's beautiful. It's on YouTube. And then, so we made that together, Mike and I. We're writing and producing partners now. So we're creating a television show, writing, producing, and we're, once we can, we're going to start pitching this thing around. And I want to create content myself. I really want to create television shows that I am that I also want to star in them as well. So that's the catch for these networks. They're like, yeah, here's this beautiful, amazing script. I'm starring. Yeah. But so that's to be a producer, writer, and creator of a show that I'm starring in. I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to take control of my own career.
I think it said he wants to wear a mustache and beard, and Hallmark said no. That's my personal opinion.
That's all it is.
That's it.
It's all about the face of that.
Yeah.
So
that's it, mate. I just stopped. I was clipped yesterday, and I sort of got here, and Nadia was like, "Stop! I love it. Leave it." And I'm like, "Great,
okay, done.
Look.
To kind of piggyback off of it, I too love it. So we've had a lot of eye contact now, and I just want to tag team in.
Nadia and Panda both love it.
2 thumbs up. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I respect it.
I mean, I know she's your girl and everything, but Panda.
I mean, come on. Listen, I just wanted to tell you, man.
I'm flattered, mate. I'm flattered.
You're welcome, man. So overall, you would say you're happy with the decision you made to walk away and to, explore this new, angle of your life. You find a lot of fulfillment in that.
Sure. I do find fulfillment in that. I've also got, I've got businesses as well that I've sort of invested in and I'm nurturing as well outside of the acting world. So I'm just, it's just one of those industries that you just never know where your next job is coming. It's pretty sporadic. When it's on, it's great. You can really earn some great money and a great living. But when it's not, then you're not earning a thing, right? And the whole idea is the dream is anyway, is to pursue my passion and earn a living from it, right? And so that's a tough ask for so many people. I'm just really, really fortunate enough to be able to have business in line with my passion.
Yeah. I would just say if you're looking to invest, like there's a small podcasting startup in South Carolina.
That's right.
That would take your money. I think double it like immediately. So that's just like I don't know.
You're saying we double it right away.
Right away.
Wow.
It's a right away double.
Sounds like a lie.
When you're good, when you're good, you're good. Man, like it's great to hear what you're working on because that's really exciting. I think. Like a lot of people that are maybe Hardys see you leave and they're bummed out about it. But I hope that they can hear that you're doing something that you're passionate about and get excited for you because that's that's the goal for everybody is to do the thing that they love.
That's exactly right. And so let me say to the Hardys as well that are going to be watching this, because I'm sure they'll jump on, that I love them. Like they're such loyal fans, guys. I'm telling you, with everything that I've done since Hallmark, they're still supportive. They're with me, and I'm really grateful for that, honestly. So thanks, guys, out there.
Is it rapid fire time?
And it's good. And also, you know what it does is like, the fans of When Called the Heart and the real kind of fans of Hallmark content are, because they're fans of mine, are sort of watching shows that they maybe normally wouldn't watch. And some of them are like, this ain't for me, not even close. Yeah. But others are like, I love this. This is great. So, you follow an actor, you got to get introduced to new kinds of content as well. And that's always good.
Yeah. Yep.
I love it. Is it rapid fire time?
Yeah. I would just first of all, I would just say a big Kringles to you.
Kringles.
Thank you for introducing us to the world of Kringles. It's been really good for us. So Kringles. Rapid fire time is the part of the show where we each get to ask you 3 questions about anything under the sun, and you get to answer it. You get the privilege of answering these questions, and they're always really good, especially mine. Right. Panda, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Your go-to arcade game.
Oh, Pac-Man.
Your favorite American movie of all time?
Shawshank Redemption.
Love it.
You've been to Disneyland, so I've heard. What's your favorite ride at Disneyland, and how long would you be willing to wait in that line?
Well, Space Mountain and Indiana Jones is good too, but I think Space Mountain. Too long, mate. Too long.
No fast pass. No fast pass.
I went with my dad, and we stood in this line for like an hour and 50 minutes or something like that. I'm like, what are we doing with our lives?
We're adults.
Best restaurant you've ever eaten at?
Ooh, I love Il Cielo. It's an Italian restaurant in Beverly Hills, and Galito's Cardell is an Argentinian steakhouse just down on Melrose.
Ooh,
couple of
hungry.
There's a couple of great restaurants in LA that I really love.
Man, what's the thing from Australia, whether it be a food or an item or anything, that they can't recreate, they can't make it as good here in the United States?
Vegemite, mate. Vegemite.
Seriously,
I have to get it sent over. I'm a Vegemite addict. I spend my time making the toast golden brown, and right after it comes out, the butter is ready to spread. So you got to get the butter on fast, so it melts in, and then you got the Vegemite, mate.
The way I've never had Vegemite, the way it looks is a little off-putting. Like, I don't know if I want to try it.
The way it tastes is off-putting, mate. The way it tastes. So there's actually this video of Aaron and Laurie on set back in the day, a few years back, and I make them Vegemite toast.
Oh, man.
And the reaction is pretty good. I'm sure that's out there somewhere. But what else in Australia? No, that's about it.
That was the stereotypical. That's the answer. That's the Vegemite sandwich. A Vegemite sandwich is the answer, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
So you grew up in Australia. You have this idea of America in your mind, America media, American politics, all that stuff. Coming over to the States, was America similar to what you kind of had in your mind, or just completely different than what you
right? So when I first came to America, I was 7 years old. So we came on a family holiday. I was 7 years old. We were in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Hawaii, and I went back with the little American accent. I was rolling my eyes, walking around like a. And that was like the 1988 that was, so that was like America, and from a kid's perspective. But as an adult perspective, coming back over, it was a very different story. And especially nowadays where I am very, very engaged in what's happening in American politics, because that's basically what our show's about that we're writing over the last 2 years. So, it's comedy, though.
Really?
It has to be, doesn't it?
Does it have a title?
It has to be.
What's it called?
It has to be. No, I mean, we're playing around with a few titles.
Okay.
But, our titles are, it's untitled at the moment.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah. We'll get there. Yeah, that's something that as an adult coming over here, there are so many beautiful things about living and especially working in America. There really is great opportunity in my industry if you happen to capitalize on the opportunities given. But there's a lot of stuff that needs work.
Yeah. Dan, just promise me this. When you sell this show to a network or to Netflix or whatever, you text me and you say, "Hey, I'm ready to make the announcement." You don't have
you come here.
You don't have your people send it out as a press blast, and so it gets picked up by everybody. You bring it here first. You make the announcement.
Exclusive?
We want the exclusive. That's basically what we're asking for. Can you promise me that right now? Promise me right now.
What's let me ask what your reach is, guys.
10
like a Deadline Hollywood.
people.
It is.
Hey, we have had in under 2 years, we've had over 2 million people listen.
That's beautiful.
It's
Good.
not.
Congratulations.
It's
That's great.
not as big as an actual press release, though. I'm sorry to say, but you could give it to us first and then immediately do the press release afterwards, and they would think they got it first. We just have.
Can I do it simultaneously?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll do a simultaneous blast. Yeah,
But we get to be on the blast first.
Yeah. Just have your mics ready.
We're not on the same blast.
We're always
we
ready.
Would be interviewing, and the blast would go.
Right, I hear you, but we're still on.
Okay,
the
whatever.
blast
It's
first.
ask your last question.
Okay.
Rapid fire ended up, spinning out.
Yeah, it's a slower fire.
Yeah.
it's just a small, it's just a
Smoldering ashes.
Yeah. When all this quarantine ban lifts and we get a chance to fly on over and hang out for the day, what are we doing? Just as bros hanging out, or as mates, as you would say?
You know what? Why don't we come over? Have a couple of beers at my house. I'll cook you a couple of barbecue steaks, whatever, and we'll just chill, mate. We'll just chill.
I will be honest. I have never had an Australian cook me something on the Barbie, and it has been something I've always wanted. And you know what? We're hopefully
we're coming out in October.
Coming out in October.
That's right.
And so,
all right. Well, fingers crossed. Yeah, that'd be great, guys. Honestly, no joke. Reach out. We'll hang.
Barbie.
I love it.
Man, this guy. I mean, hey, I've got a question for you, Daniel. And you think about it. What's the most expensive beverage you've ever drank or purchased? Either somebody bought it for you or you purchased it yourself. Most expensive.
Dan's not a guy who drinks, though. That's what he's not somebody who likes. He
and I would never.
We wouldn't get on, mate.
No.
So I bought a bottle that was up there. So you remember how I told you my cousin Chris is like my best mate in the world? So his 30th birthday, I bought him a 30-year-old Macallan.
Oh my!
Yeah,
that's over $1,000. That's like what, $1,500? That's a big time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the most expensive drink that I had, or bottle that I bought. But I want to do it again for him on his 40th. So,
man, Macallan 40.
Well, if I can find a Macallan 40, they're hard to come by. They're going at about $5,000.
That's your entire December bride paycheck. I'm pretty sure. That's some serious money, Daniel. That is no joke.
And just know,
if the businesses continue to go well, we'll be all right.
Just know that we expect the same when we come out.
Yeah. We're coming on October the 25th, it's a 25-year.
20 is 25.
Yeah,
I'll have the bullet ready.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll end with a travel question. You love traveling. You've been to so many amazing places. Where's somewhere that you haven't been that is on your bucket list to go to?
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. So. Nadia's dream destination is the Maldives, right? And this is very tropical, and I'm all about that. But actually, I want to go to Antarctica, and then that way I can cross off every continent. Then,
man, that's the only one left.
I love it,
man.
I love it. Daniel, how can people find you on the socials, follow you, and all that good stuff, and stay up to date? And obviously, find out when that show's going to come out. Obviously, after you announce it on our show, but still follow you on the socials.
Sure, guys. You'll be the second to know. No, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. It's Daniel Lissing. That's it. I'm the only one with the blue tick next to it. So if you're getting messages from fake Daniels out there, If it's not with a blue tick, there is no other private accounts.
I've told Brian to stop doing that so many times.
Yeah, I'm the guy behind all your fake accounts.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just fun. It's like, hey, remember me?
Yeah.
I was on that show.
I keep getting messages. These people are out there, like pretend to be me, trying to ask fans for money. And I'm like, guys, come on. So it's just the one with the blue tick. That's it, guys. That's it. The verified accounts. That's it.
Awesome.
Dude,
Dude,
find me there.
Daniel, you are the best, man. Thank you for giving up your time to us this afternoon.
guys.
And we really, really appreciate it. We hope everything goes well. We wish you the best, man.
Wish you guys the best too. Appreciate it.
And we always end by wishing our guests and our listeners a very Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.